Most people write to be liked. But influence, real influence, isn't built through popularity. It's built through precision, through words that carry weight, through sentences that don't just inform, they move people. Because in business, writing isn't a task, it's a weapon. Every email, every post, every message is a test. Can you hold attention? Can you create clarity? Can you spark belief? If not, you're invisible. But if you can, you rise. Because those who shape words shape minds. And those who shape minds move markets. That's the writing you're here to master. Not fluff, not filler, not empty noise camouflaged as cleverness, but writing that commands, that shifts, that ignites, that cuts through the fog like a sword through silence. Writing that gets clients to trust, teams to move, investors to lean in, buyers to click, and people, real people, to feel seen, understood, and inspired to act. But let's get one thing straight. Powerful writing in business isn't about sounding smart. It's about making them feel smart. It's not about showcasing your vocabulary. It's about unlocking their vision. It's not a performance, it's a service. The better you write, the more clearly they see themselves succeeding with you. So where does it begin? It begins with clarity. Clarity isn't just a nice thing, it's the thing. If your message isn't clear, it doesn't matter how creative it is. Confused people don't buy, they don't follow, they don't move. And in a world drowning in content, clarity is a lifeline. To write with clarity, you must think with clarity. You must know exactly who you're talking to, what they're feeling, what they fear, and where they want to go. You're not writing to impress them. You're writing to join them in their tension and then show them the way out. Clarity isn't soft. It's not boring. It's sharp. It cuts through the fog. It says, here, this is the truth. This is what matters. This is what's possible. And when done right, it pierces through resistance and lands straight in the heart. Then comes rhythm. Because writing isn't just what you say, it's how it flows. Influence lives in cadence. Power lives in pacing. You don't just type words. You conduct them. You orchestrate tension. You shape silence. You decide when to punch, when to pause, when to press, when to breathe. A powerful sentence is more than language. It's a lever. It lifts belief. It moves action. It opens doors in the reader's mind that were previously locked. So write like a sculptor, cut everything that doesn't serve the form. Write like a musician, feel the beat of your words. Write like a boxer, know when to jab, when to strike, and when to hold. And never forget, emotion is the engine. Logic informs, but emotion transforms. If your writing doesn't move them, it won't matter how accurate it is. If they don't feel something, they won't do anything. That's not manipulation, that's connection. Because before people decide what's true, they decide what's real. And real always feels first. You're not just giving information. You're giving permission. Permission to believe, to dream, to change. And every line should walk them closer to the person they want to become with you, through you, because of what you wrote. Tone is the soul of your writing. It's not just what you say, it's how they hear it in their head. Tone is what makes someone lean in instead of scroll past. What makes your words feel like a conversation instead of a commercial. What makes your voice unforgettable. In business, your tone must carry confidence without ego, warmth without weakness, authority without arrogance. It's the difference between shouting and shining, between pressure and presence. A confident tone says, I've done the work. A clear tone says, you're safe here. A real tone says, I see you. And when your writing embodies that energy, it doesn't just transfer information, it transfers trust. That's influence. And that's how you win. Next, anchor your writing in identity. Because in a noisy marketplace, the strongest voice always wins. But a strong voice doesn't mean loud. It means rooted. Rooted in your beliefs, your style, your rhythm, your stance. Don't sound like everyone else. Don't chase the trending tone. Don't water yourself down to appeal to more people. That's how you end up reaching no one. The more specific your voice, the more magnetic your writing becomes. Be bold, be direct, be unmistakable. Because the truth is, if your writing sounds like it could come from anyone, then it won't mean anything to anyone. Specificity is your scalpel. Vagueness is the enemy of persuasion. If your reader has to guess what you mean, they're already gone. Your writing should not only be vivid, it should be surgical. Every word should feel chosen. Every line should feel earned. Don't say, better business. Say, triple your recurring revenue in 6 months without adding staff. Don't say, help you grow. Say, help you break through that revenue ceiling you've been stuck under for 2 years. Specific writing is felt. It's trusted. It hits like truth. Because it doesn't just speak to the mind, it mirrors the reader's experience. And that's where storytelling comes in. Stories are not entertainment. They're transportation. A great story doesn't just teach, it transfers. It takes the reader from where they are into a moment, a lesson, a vision. And inside that story, they don't just learn, they feel. And once they feel, they move. Don't just tell them you overcame something, show them the night you almost quit. Don't just claim your strategy works. Walk them through the mess before the breakthrough. Don't just state your values. Show them what you said no to when it would have been easier to say yes. Because story makes your writing stick. It doesn't bounce off the surface. It roots itself inside them and lingers. And here's the truth no one wants to hear. If your words don't linger, your brand won't either. Authority isn't declared, it's demonstrated. And in writing, authority doesn't come from saying, I'm an expert. It comes from writing in a way that proves you are without ever needing to say it. Because real authority doesn't scream, it doesn't beg, it doesn't boast. Real authority is quiet power. It's confidence wrapped in clarity. It's precision that pierces without pressure. And the most powerful way to write with authority is to write like someone who knows the struggle, knows the solution, knows the stakes, and knows how to lead someone from confusion to conviction. Your writing builds authority when it leads, not when it entertains, not when it impresses, when it leads, line by line, word by word. It walks the reader from, I don't know what to do, to, this is the way forward. And the secret? It's not about you. It's about them. The more deeply you understand them, the more undeniable your authority becomes. Because in a world full of writers who want attention, the ones who earn influence are the ones who offer clarity. So, how do you convert without selling? How do you move hearts and wallets without manipulation? You stop pushing and you start aligning. You write in a way that reflects their reality. You meet them in their moment. You articulate their problem better than they've ever heard it described. And then, when you present the offer, it doesn't feel like a pitch. It feels like a path. Persuasion isn't about pressure. It's about precision. It's not about changing minds. It's about unlocking what's already there. That means knowing the real pain underneath the surface level complaint. That means naming the desire behind the data. That means painting a picture of the outcome so clear they can feel themselves living in it. Conversion writing is service-driven. It's not, here's why I'm amazing. It's, here's what you've been stuck in, and here's how we walk out together. And if you want your writing to build lasting influence, it must reshape identity. Because the most powerful writing doesn't just shift thoughts. It shifts self-perception. It takes someone from, I'm overwhelmed, I'm stuck, I'm behind, to, I'm capable, I'm ready, I'm done waiting. That kind of writing doesn't talk at people. It talks to the part of them that's been waiting to be woken up. So write to the future version of your reader, the version that's braver, bolder, clearer. Speak to their potential, not their pain. Don't just show them what's wrong, show them who they can become. And when they feel seen by your writing, when they recognize themselves in your words, they won't just follow you. They'll thank you. They'll remember you. And they'll move because of you. Because at the end of the day, Writing isn't just about communication. It's about creation. You are not just writing content. You are building bridges, opening doors, lighting torches. You are creating momentum where there was once paralysis, vision where there was once fog, power where there was once doubt. And when you understand that, you stop treating your writing like a task on a to-do list. You start treating it like the lever that moves everything else. Because it is. The right words can unlock a sale. The right message can shift a market. The right sentence can rewire a person's self-belief for life. That's not hype. That's the quiet truth behind every influential brand, every meaningful movement, every lasting business. Someone wrote something powerful enough to make someone else believe again. So if you're serious about building influence in business, don't start with your funnel. Start with your pen, with your process, with your intention, with your obsession with clarity, your reverence for rhythm, your demand for depth. Because writing isn't something you do once the real work is done. Writing is the work. It's where the vision gets shaped. It's where the voice gets found. It's where the value gets proven before you ever speak a word or sell a thing. And the most successful people in business, they write with identity. They write with intention. They write like leaders, not because they want attention, but because they want to serve at scale. So don't just write to publish. Write to pierce, to provoke, to clarify, to convert, to empower, to elevate, to lead. And when you do that, when your writing starts breathing with the heartbeat of someone who cares, people will notice. They'll feel it. They'll remember it. And more importantly, they'll respond to it. Because writing done right doesn't just create content. It creates connection. It creates conviction. And in the end, it creates change. So write like it matters. Because it does. Write like your future depends on it. Because it might. Write like it's your legacy being carved, one line at a time. Because that's exactly what it is. And when it's all said and done, and your business has scaled, and your brand has grown, and your influence has reached places you never imagined, you'll look back and realize it started with one sentence, one truth, one choice to write like a leader, and never look back. The moment your eyes open in the morning, you are at war. Not with the world, not with your schedule, but with something far more dangerous, comfort. That sweet voice that says, just a few more minutes. Start tomorrow. Play it safe. And if you're not ready, if you don't rise with intention, that voice wins. And your dream dies a little more before breakfast. Because here's the truth no one wants to admit. Your morning isn't a time slot. It's a message. A message you send to the universe that says, I'm serious. Or a message that says, I'm still sleeping through my potential. The successful, the relentless, the unstoppable, the legendary, they don't start their day like everyone else. They build it. They don't wake up into chaos. They create clarity because they know one thing the average forgets. Mornings are sacred, and the way you rise will determine how far you go. Habit 1, they master the first thought. Most people wake up and immediately reach for their phone, injecting distraction, comparison, and noise straight into their bloodstream. But not the successful. The successful protect the first thought of the day like it's oxygen, because it is. Your first thought is the rudder of your mind. It decides if you drift or drive, if you spiral or soar. So they wake up and take command, not by accident, but by design. Before the world invades their consciousness, they set the tone with gratitude, with purpose, with fire. Not, I have to, but I get to. Not another day, but another opportunity. Not, let's see what happens, but let's make it happen. And from that one shift, they don't walk into the day, they launch. Habit 2, they dominate the physical. Before emails, before meetings, before decisions, They move. Because the body is not just a vessel, it's a trigger. Motion is the fastest way to summon motivation, to move from sleep to certainty, to transition from dreams to domination. This isn't about having a six-pack. This is about discipline. This is about sweat as a spiritual act. This is about looking the morning in the face and saying, I choose power today. When you push your body, you push your limits. You remind yourself that resistance is not your enemy. It's your training partner. You start your day in victory, and that victory compounds because a body in motion leads a life in momentum. Habit 3, they spend time in silence before they step into noise. The world is loud. Your phone is loud. The news, the timelines, the expectations, all of it screams for your attention. But the successful, they start with stillness because clarity doesn't shout. It whispers. And if you don't make space for it, you'll miss it. They sit with themselves not to escape, but to listen, to recalibrate, to remember who they are. Prayer, meditation, reflection, breath. Not because it's trendy, but because their inner world must be stronger than the outer one. If you don't control the first voice you hear, the world will decide what you believe. But when you set the frequency, the rest of the day has no choice but to rise to it. Habit 4, they review their vision daily. Successful people don't write their goals once. They read them every morning like scripture. They don't drift through the day hoping to find focus. They anchor their soul in purpose. While the average scrolls aimlessly, they stare into their future. They remind themselves what they're building. They burn the image into their nervous system until it's more real than the room they're standing in. That vision becomes command, and from it comes decisions, direction, and drive. You want to stay on fire? Then stop trying to remember your goals. Reignite them every single morning. Habit 5, they take immediate ownership through action. The successful don't wait to feel ready. They don't ease into the day like it's a warm bath. They attack it. They do something hard first. They do something meaningful now because they understand the longer you wait, the weaker you become. While the world is still yawning, they're already creating. They're already writing. They're already building the momentum that average people spend all day chasing. And it's not because they're superhuman. It's because they don't ask, do I feel like it? They ask, is it aligned with who I said I would become? They don't negotiate with laziness. They eliminate it because every excuse is an enemy of their empire. They know discipline before the world wakes up becomes domination after the world starts moving. And so they move, not with speed, but with certainty, not with hustle, but with honor, not with pressure, but with purpose. Because when you move in purpose, even the smallest act becomes sacred. The workout becomes a war cry. The cold shower becomes a declaration. The journal becomes a blueprint. The schedule becomes proof that you are no longer living by default. Now listen closely, because this is the moment you decide what kind of life you're going to build from this day forward. You don't need more time. You don't need better conditions. You don't need the perfect morning routine. You need to become the person who wakes up with fire in their lungs and refuses to waste it. You need to become the kind of soul who gets out of bed with the same intensity most people only find when they're desperate. Because you're not desperate. You're devoted. Devoted to your future. Devoted to your purpose. Devoted to rising while others sleep. To pushing while others pause. To becoming while others wish. The morning is your proving ground. The testing ground. The launching pad. And the moment you stop waking up into chaos and start waking up with command, you stop living reactively and start leading a life that cannot be ignored. You want success? Then win the first battle of the day, and the rest will obey. Let the world sleep. Let the weak wait. But you rise. You build. You own the morning. And in doing so, you own your life. The most powerful weapon you will ever possess is not your intelligence, not your talent, not even your drive. It is your mindset. And not the kind of mindset people post about in shallow quotes and coffee mug slogans. I'm talking about the mindset forged in fire. The mindset born from being broken and choosing to rise anyway. The mindset that doesn't flinch when the world shakes. This is the solid mindset. And it doesn't arrive. It is built deliberately, brutally, relentlessly, because life doesn't care about your potential. Life pays attention to your preparation. And if your mind is not built like steel, then your goals will collapse like glass. The storms will come. They always do. The question is not if. The question is, will your mind be ready? Will it stand? Will it push back? Will it command the chaos instead of being swallowed by it? A solid mindset is not born from wishing. It is born from work, inner work, soul work. It's not about thinking positively, it's about thinking powerfully. And it starts with the first element, ownership. You must own everything. Your choices, your thoughts, your reactions, your results. Blame is the language of the weak. Excuses are the chains of the average. But ownership is liberation. The moment you stop pointing fingers and start pointing inward, your life begins to transform. Because when you own it all, you can change it all. Responsibility is not a burden. It's the gate to your power. You either own your mind or someone else will. From that root, the second element grows. Standards. Your mindset can only rise to the level of your standards. What you tolerate, you endorse. What you ignore, you become. Raise your standards not just for your results, but for your behavior. What time you wake up. How you speak to yourself. What energy you allow around you. Discipline is not just about the gym or the schedule, it's about the identity you protect. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your standards. So set them high, enforce them fiercely. Make your life a temple, not a tent. Then build the third element. Focus. Laser. Locked in. Undistracted focus. We are living in the age of attention warfare. And every moment your focus is scattered, your power is diluted. A solid mindset protects its focus like a lion guards its territory. No wasted scrolls, no toxic input, no empty conversations. It doesn't grow you, feed you, or serve your vision. It doesn't belong. You only get so much mental bandwidth. Spend it like gold. Master your focus, and you master the battlefield. Next, chisel in the fourth element, emotional control. A weak mind reacts. A strong mind responds. You cannot lead your life if you cannot lead your emotions. Anger, fear, jealousy, comparison. These are thieves. They steal your clarity, your peace, your momentum. But they only have power if you let them live in you unchallenged. Learn to sit in your feelings without becoming them. Learn to breathe when the fire comes. Emotional control doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you don't fold. It means your emotions serve you, not enslave you. The fifth element is perhaps the most dangerous to ignore. Self-talk. What you whisper to yourself in private becomes your public fate. The most toxic voice is not out there. It's the one inside you, unchecked. You don't need motivation if your internal dialogue is disciplined. Speak to yourself like someone you are responsible for building. Encourage, command, lead. Your self-talk should be like a coach, not a critic. Your words are spells. Make sure you're not cursing your future with small talk. Now we arrive at the sixth element, the iron shield, resilience. You can have all the goals, all the affirmations, all the morning routines, but if you can't bounce back, you won't last. Resilience is not about never falling. It's about rising faster every time you do. It's about turning every setback into a sharpening stone. It's about knowing that pain is not your enemy, it is your trainer. The resilient mind doesn't break. It bends. It adapts. It adjusts. It advances. Then, deep in the foundation, there's the seventh element, identity. Who do you believe you are? Because you will never act consistently in a way that contradicts your identity. If you see yourself as average, you'll sabotage success. If you see yourself as a warrior, you'll fight differently. You must install the identity you need to fulfill your future. Don't wait until you achieve it, become it. Walk like it, talk like it, think like it. Your identity is the thermostat of your life. Set it high and never lower it to match the room. The eighth element, like lightning in your bloodstream, is belief. Belief is not hope. Belief is certainty in advance. It's the internal conviction that your vision must come to pass. And when belief lives in your bones, you walk differently. You take bigger swings. You bet on yourself when no one else will. You don't need approval. You already gave it to yourself. That's the kind of belief that moves mountains. Finally, the ninth, the unshakable pillar beneath it all, long-term vision. If your mindset is not anchored in a future worth fighting for, you'll give up. Short-term minds get crushed by pressure. Long-term vision creates perspective. When you know where you're going, the setbacks become scenes, not the story. The losses become lessons. And the pain becomes the price you're willing to pay. Because your future is not a fantasy. It's a contract written in vision, signed with belief, and delivered by discipline. A solid mindset is not a gift. It is a forge. And you are the fire. Then let the fire rise higher, because we are not here to build ordinary minds. We are here to forge unshakable, immovable, legendary minds that don't bend when the pressure mounts, they sharpen. Let's take everything we've laid down and now press it deeper into the foundation. Because a solid mindset isn't built once. It is reinforced every single day. Every thought you allow, every habit you tolerate, every conversation you entertain, it's either cementing your greatness or cracking your foundation. This is where most people lose, in the everyday. Not in the big events, not in the once-a-year breakthroughs, but in the tiny choices that accumulate like bricks until you either stand on a fortress or get buried under your own mediocrity. So ask yourself daily, is this thought building me? Is this decision aligning me with who I said I want to become? Is this moment honoring the future I say I crave? A solid mindset lives by alignment. No more performing one way and thinking another. No more posting like a king but living like a prisoner. It's time to unify your life from the inside out. And make no mistake, that means sacrifice. You must sacrifice your lower self. The version of you that settles, scrolls, snoozes, blames, waits. That version has to die daily so the real you can rise daily. Because your potential is not sleeping, it's starving. Starving for discipline. Starving for belief. Starving for someone brave enough to stop waiting for permission and start living with conviction. Your mindset must be your greatest ally, not your biggest saboteur. It must be a garden, not a garbage dump. So clean it out. Pull the weeds of self-doubt. Burn the dead wood of regret. Plant seeds of power, of wisdom, of vision, and water them with daily commitment. You don't get a solid mindset by reading about it. You get it by living it. By walking into situations that should break you and refusing to shatter. By standing up after failure and saying, this is where I'm most dangerous. Right here. Right now. Because a solid mindset doesn't avoid the fire. It becomes fireproof. It doesn't shrink when misunderstood. It expands. It doesn't lower its frequency to fit in. It radiates at full power until the room adjusts. And here's the truth they won't tell you. You will outgrow people. You will intimidate the small-minded. You will be questioned, doubted, challenged. Good. That's how you know the transformation is working. When your energy gets too big for small circles, keep expanding. When your vision offends, those who refuse to change, keep building. When your standards isolate, you keep rising. Because a solid mindset is not looking for comfort, it is looking for alignment. Not popularity, but purpose. You are not here to be liked. You are here to lead. And that starts with leading yourself. Lead your thoughts. Lead your actions. Lead your mornings. Lead your mood. Lead your mindset like it's the most precious asset you own, because it is. You want wealth? Master your mindset. You want peace? Master your mindset. You want influence, impact, freedom, power, fulfillment? Master your mindset. Every dream you have is locked behind the gate of your own thinking. And the only way to break through is to become the kind of person who can't be shaken. So decide right now, not tomorrow, not next week, to become unbreakable, to become undeniable, to become the rare breed who walks into any room and never flinches, because their mindset doesn't move. That is your foundation, and it will carry you to heights no one can even pronounce. Understand this. A solid mindset isn't just protection, it's propulsion. It doesn't just defend you from chaos, it drives you through it. It's the invisible engine behind every breakthrough, every leap, every quiet miracle you manifest. It's not a shield you hold. It's the force you become. And to truly lock it in, you must live by what I call the unbreakable code. Not rules written on paper, but principles etched into the soul. Principles that don't change when life gets hard. Principles that define you so the world can never confuse you. The first, you are not your circumstances. Your bank account doesn't define you. Your job title doesn't validate you. Your past does not predict you. You are not your failures. You are not your trauma. You are not your mistakes. You are the architect of what comes next. You are the authority on your identity. And no one gets to write your future but you. The second, hard is not a reason to stop. It's the reason to start. Hard means you're doing something worthy. Hard means you're growing. Hard means you're on the right road. A solid mindset is addicted to challenge. It wakes up craving resistance because it knows that resistance builds range. And range is power. The more you can handle, the more you can hold. And the more you can hold, the further you rise. The third, delay is not denial. A solid mindset doesn't panic when things take longer. It doesn't fold when the results aren't instant. It trusts the compound effect. It trusts the hidden work. It trusts that the universe rewards the prepared, not the impatient. You don't plant in spring and harvest in summer without tending to the soil daily. You don't win the war in one battle. You win by showing up again and again and again until there's no resistance left. The fourth, the world reflects what you believe you're worth. So raise your value not in ego, but in identity. Walk like you matter. Speak like you have something eternal inside you. Show up like your time is sacred. People treat you according to the energy you accept. Life rewards you based on the level of belief you broadcast. So stop discounting your spirit. Stop offering clearance rack versions of your destiny. You are not a product of the world. You are a producer of new worlds. The fifth, everything is training. The delay, training. The pain, training. The betrayal, the rejection, the detour, the silence, all of it is training. Training you to be the person who can carry the life you say you want. That means you don't resent the storm. You respect it because you know it's here to stretch you, shape you, sharpen you. This is how a solid mindset thinks. If it's hard, I get better. If it's slow, I get stronger. If it breaks me, I rebuild wiser. There is nothing the world can throw at you that you cannot convert into fuel. And the sixth, the crown jewel. You were built for this. Not just born. Built, forged, chosen, called, prepared. Nothing about you is an accident. Not the hunger. Not the vision. Not the nights you can't sleep because something inside you knows you were made for more. That's not delusion, that's destiny calling. You are built to lead, built to create, built to become a walking standard of what is possible. But to fulfill that call, you must master the battlefield between your ears. Because if you lose there, you lose everywhere. But if you win there, if you build the mind that cannot be shaken, cannot be broken, cannot be turned against itself, then there is nothing you cannot build, nothing you cannot conquer, nothing you cannot become. This is your mind, your most powerful asset, your most sacred responsibility, your throne, your engine, your sanctuary. Build it strong, build it solid, and then watch the world bend to match it. Because everything you've heard up to now has not been for your inspiration. It has been for your awakening. This isn't just motivation, this is resurrection. The resurrection of your fire. The fire that life tried to dim. The fire that disappointment tried to drown. The fire that fear tried to smother. But here's the truth they never taught you. You were never meant to be tame. You were never meant to be average. You were never meant to just cope with life. You were meant to command it. And a solid mindset is the sword you wield in that battle. So let the world doubt you. Let the critics watch. Let the voices whisper, who do you think you are? And smile. Smile, because you know exactly who you are. You are the one who refused to shrink. The one who rose from the ashes with steel in your soul. The one who looked weakness in the eye and said, not today. You are not afraid of hard. You welcome it because you know pressure creates diamonds and you are born to shine. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more clarity. It needs more leadership. It needs more you, the real you, not the filtered version. So stop dimming your light to protect other people's comfort. Stop hiding your gifts under the mask of humility. Stop playing it safe and calling it wisdom. Step out. Stand tall. Speak with fire. Move with purpose. Let them feel your energy before you say a word. Let your mindset be so solid, so unshakable, so alive, that just being around you reminds people of their own greatness. This is not a performance. This is your becoming. And the world will try to distract you. It will try to derail you. It will try to break you. And that's exactly how you'll know that you're on the right path. Because the more powerful you become, the more resistance you attract. But a solid mindset doesn't flinch. It feeds on it. You spend enough time doubting, enough time waiting, enough time second-guessing your gift. Now is the season of execution. Now is the era of elevation. Now is the time for everything to change. Because once your mind is locked in, once your thoughts are aligned, once your fire is lit and your eyes are clear and your soul is unapologetically awake, there is no force on earth that can contain you. Not fear, not failure, not fatigue, nothing. So go. Go build the thing they said was impossible. Go become the person you were always destined to be. Go create a life that doesn't just impress people, but a life that awakens them. You are no longer hoping to win. You are expecting to, because you've built the one thing that no one can take from you, a mind that's stronger than circumstance, sharper than fear, and steadier than any storm. You've built the solid mindset, and now the world is yours. You weren't born to struggle. You weren't born to settle. You weren't put on this earth to wake up tired, live on autopilot, and die with your potential still sealed inside you. You were born to prosper. to thrive, to rise above circumstance and build a life so aligned with purpose that even the universe leans in to watch. But here's the truth. They didn't teach you in school. Prosperity is not handed out. Success is not inherited. Freedom is not gifted. They are unlocked. And the lock is inside you, not in the economy, not in your background, not in your DNA. The vault that holds your next level doesn't require a key from the outside. It requires a code. 10 eternal principles that, when activated, break open every limitation that's ever stood between you and the life you were designed to live. The first key is this: mindset is the gateway. Before a dollar flows to your account, before opportunity knocks, before your name is known, your mindset must be rebuilt. Because if you still think like the old you, you'll sabotage the new season. You'll reject the blessing. You'll overlook the open door. You'll undercharge, underperform, underestimate, and blame everything except the lens in your own mind. So, reframe it. You are not broke. You are becoming resourceful. You are not behind. You are building depth. You are not stuck. You are in preparation. The mind must shift before the money shows up. You don't think wealthy after you get rich. You think wealthy so you can become rich. Key 2, belief is a force multiplier. You don't get what you want. You don't even get what you work for. You get what you believe is possible for someone like you. And belief isn't a mood. It's a weapon. It's the invisible blueprint that draws abundance to your door. Because the world doesn't respond to hesitation. It responds to certainty. And if you believe, truly believe, that your vision is divine, that your work has weight, that your purpose is non-negotiable, then doors open, people appear, resources align, but you must go first. You must believe before the evidence. You must act before the applause. You must move like the outcome is already done because in another dimension it is. Key 3, clarity unlocks acceleration. Most people are not moving slow because they're lazy. They're moving slow because they're confused. They say they want success, but they haven't defined it. They say they want wealth, but they haven't decided what they'll trade for it. They say they want purpose, but they haven't sat still long enough to listen. You cannot hit a target you haven't named. You cannot build a life that's based on vibes and vague hopes. You need clarity, sharp, specific, soul-deep clarity. What do you want? Why does it matter? And what pain are you willing to endure to see it through? Until you answer that you're wandering. But once you do, you start compounding. Every day begins to stack. Every action finds its lane. Every breath begins to serve the vision. Clarity doesn't make things easy. It makes them inevitable. Key 4, vision must be lived, not just looked at. It's not enough to have a dream board. It's not enough to write your goals and then close the book. Your vision must live inside you. It must breathe through your choices. It must burn in your bones. Because a vision that isn't vivid becomes vapor. And vapor will never move you through a storm. So build your vision into your identity. Speak it, walk it, act like it's already real. Because when your life begins to mirror your future instead of your past, you don't just attract success, you embody it. Key 5, purpose is your eternal fuel. Money will run out. Motivation will fade. Momentum will slow. But purpose? Purpose is perpetual fire. When you tie your work to something bigger than yourself, you unlock a level of strength, focus, and resilience that shallow ambition can never sustain. Purpose doesn't ask if you feel like it. It commands you. It gets you out of bed when you're broken. It keeps you in the fight when it's hard. It makes you patient in the process and powerful in the storm. You don't need more motivation. You need to remember your purpose. Why did you start? Who are you doing it for? What's the cost of you staying the same? Those answers are your power, and they never run dry. Key 6, discipline is the bridge between intention and identity. You can dream it. You can write it. You can speak it into the mirror until your voice cracks. But if you don't execute it, it dies in your mouth. Discipline is what separates the inspired from the impactful, the dreamers from the doers, the wishers from the warriors. Because there's only one way to prove you're serious about your future. You show up every day, not just when it's sunny, not just when you're in the mood, not just when it's Instagrammable, but when no one sees, when it's boring, when it's heavy, when it's war. Discipline is love in action. It says, I care about my future self enough to sacrifice for them now. It says, this work is sacred and I treat it that way. You want to know how far someone will go? Don't look at their goals. Look at their routines. The ones who win don't have more time. They just waste less of it. Key 7. Action beats everything. Not strategy, not talent, not perfection. Action, bold, fast, messy, massive action. While others plan, you move. While others doubt, you build. While others wait, you win. Because success doesn't reward the best ideas. It rewards the ones who ship, the ones who launch, the ones who risk failure because they understand the true failure is standing still. Action is a declaration. It says to the world, I'm not afraid of looking foolish. I'm afraid of waking up in 5 years and realizing I still haven't moved. You want to unlock prosperity? Then move like your life depends on it, because it does. Key 8, gratitude amplifies everything. Gratitude isn't soft. It's not just journaling in sunsets and smiling at strangers. Gratitude is power. It shifts your frequency from lack to abundance, from victim to victor, from stress to strategy. Because when you're truly grateful, not for everything being perfect, but for the chance to become better, you unlock peace and productivity. You stop needing more to feel worthy. And ironically, that's when more comes. Gratitude expands capacity. Gratitude multiplies momentum. Gratitude silences the noise and tunes you to the signal of enoughness. And when you live from enough, you create from overflow. And overflow builds empires. Key 9. Adaptability is wealth insurance. Things will change. Markets shift. Plans break. People walk away. But the ones who win are not the ones who predicted everything. They're the ones who adjusted to anything. You must become fluid. Unshakable in purpose, but flexible in method. Married to the mission, but unattached to the map. Adaptability is emotional intelligence in motion. It says, I don't panic, I pivot. It says, this didn't go how I planned, good, now I grow. Because when life tests you, it's not trying to destroy you. It's trying to promote you. And only the adaptable get promoted. Key 10. Resilience is the crown of the prosperous. This is the final key, the one that makes all the others stick. The ability to take a hit and rise higher, to be told no and knock again, to fail publicly and walk forward like nothing happened because your mission is too sacred to quit. Resilience is when your spirit outlasts the storm, when your faith outweighs the fear, when your commitment is stronger than your circumstances. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be fearless, but you do have to be relentless, because the path to success is not paved with comfort. It's carved in the rock by the hands of those who refuse to stop. The ones who bled, the ones who broke, the ones who believed anyway. And that can be you. Then open your heart wide, raw, ready, because this is the moment it all comes together. Not just the words, not just the ideas. You, standing at the edge of the life you've always imagined. And the only thing between you and that life is the version of you that's still afraid to unlock the door. But the keys are in your hand now. Not metaphorically, literally. 10 eternal truths burned into your bone. Truths that don't just inspire, They ignite. And now is the time to use them. Because the clock isn't waiting. The dream isn't holding its breath. And the future? The future is watching. It's waiting to see if you will rise. Will you let another day pass in hesitation? Will you scroll past your calling one more time? Will you drown in comfort, one distraction at a time? Or will you decide? Decide that today is sacred. Decide that effort is holy. Decide that every breath from this moment forward will be spent building the life that once only lived in your imagination. You want prosperity? Then become prosperous. Prosperous in discipline. Prosperous in self-respect. Prosperous in the way you carry yourself when nobody's clapping. You want success? Then become unshakable. So rooted in purpose that storms just sharpen your edge. So aligned in vision that failure becomes fertilizer. So built in belief that nothing and no one can take your momentum. Because this is your time. This is your permission slip to rise. You don't need another podcast. You don't need another quote. You need to move, execute, build, speak, lead, break, heal, rise. You are the key. You've always been. Now unlock the life you were born to build. And don't just live it. Leave proof that you were here. You don't get the life you want by chance. You get it by design. You don't stumble into greatness. You build it thought by thought, plan by plan, decision by decision, because hope is not a strategy. Wishing is not execution, and waiting is not progress. The truth is, most people want a better life, but they're thinking like someone stuck in survival. They're not building plans, they're building excuses. They're not making moves, they're reacting to moments. But you're here because you're done with that. You're here because something in you refuses to keep drifting. You're here because you've realized a good life doesn't come from reacting. It comes from thinking strategically, not rigidly, not coldly, but intentionally. Strategic thinking isn't just for CEOs and generals. It's for anyone who refuses to waste their one shot at this life. If your days feel random, if your outcomes feel inconsistent, if your purpose feels out of reach, it's not because you're incapable. It's because you haven't been taught to think like a builder, to think like someone who's architecting the life they want, not just hoping it shows up. That ends today, because you're going to learn how to think ahead, how to design with clarity, how to move with foresight, how to stop reacting to life and start directing it. And the first lesson? Think in outcomes, not emotions. Lesson 1, think in outcomes, not emotions. Emotions are important. They tell you what hurts, what matters, what needs to heal. But they should never be the driver of your decisions, because emotions shift like weather, and you cannot build a legacy on a storm. Most people live their lives in emotional reaction. They quit when they're tired. They snap when they're triggered. They stop when they're scared. And then they wonder why they don't feel powerful. But strategy says, feel your feelings, but follow your outcomes. What's the result you want? What's the life you're building toward? And what must you do even when it's uncomfortable to get there? Strategic thinking removes the drama. It clears the fog. It asks, what action leads me closer to my vision? Not, what do I feel like doing right now? Because here's the truth. Your feelings don't decide your future, your decisions do. When you start thinking in outcomes, you stop chasing approval. You stop being reactive. You start playing the long game. And in the long game, discipline outperforms mood every single time. Now let's go deeper. Lesson 2, reverse engineer everything. Don't just dream. Deconstruct. What's the exact outcome you want? Income, impact, freedom, influence? Name it. Write it. Get specific. Now, instead of asking, how do I get there? Ask, if I were already there, what would I have done to get here? That question flips everything. It pulls you out of confusion and into clarity, because now you're not guessing, you're building backward. Want a business? Study the model. Want to speak on stages? Study the steps. Want emotional peace? Study the habits of those who have it. This is how strategic thinkers move. They start with a vision and build the bridge backwards. No more hoping. No more winging it. No more walking blindly into another year. You reverse engineer it, one layer at a time. Lesson 3, leverage is the multiplier of strategic thinkers. You are not here to do everything. You are here to do what matters effectively. Strategic people don't win because they work harder. They win because they understand leverage. They know how to apply a small force in the right place to create a massive impact. Leverage is when one move does the work of 10, when one relationship opens 5 doors, when one decision frees you from 20 distractions. So ask yourself, where is my time going? Where is my energy going? What am I doing manually that could be automated? What am I doing alone that could be delegated? Strategic people remove friction. They remove the unnecessary. They remove the ego that says, I have to do it all myself. Because the goal isn't to be busy, it's to be effective. And leverage is the shortcut. That's not a shortcut. It's smart work, not more work. Want to scale your results? Find your leverage points. Build systems. Invest in people. Create content that works while you sleep. Say no to 90% of distractions so you can dominate the 10% that truly matters. Now here's another one. Lesson 4. Every day must point to the vision. This is not about perfection, it's about alignment. Every day you live is either pushing you closer to your dream or further into delay disguised as comfort. The food you eat, the way you speak, the calls you take, the content you consume, the people you allow close. It's all building something. The only question is what? So the strategic thinker doesn't ask, was today busy? They ask, was today in alignment? Because motion without direction is waste. But motion with vision, that's momentum. That's when life bends. That's when you stop surviving days and start designing decades. Lesson 5. Use mental models, not just motivation. Motivation can spark action. But strategic thinkers don't rely on sparks. They rely on systems of thought. They think in frameworks. They ask better questions. They don't just react to what's happening. They understand how to think about it. A mental model is a lens, a way of seeing, a shortcut to clarity when others are drowning in complexity. They ask, what's the root cause here, not just the symptom? If this were simple, what would it look like? What's the 80-20 here, the 20% of effort that gives 80% of results? When you build a toolbox of models, first principles, opportunity cost, second order thinking, inversion, you outthink the chaos. You rise above the noise. Because strategy isn't just execution. It's discernment. It's knowing where not to focus. It's knowing when to stop as much as when to go. Lesson 6. Schedule thinking time. Most people schedule tasks. Strategic thinkers schedule thought. Because clarity doesn't come by accident. Breakthroughs don't happen in inboxes. Solutions aren't found while you're drowning in meetings. Thinking is working. And the clearer you're thinking, the less effort your action requires. Even 30 minutes a week, no phone, no distractions, just pen, paper, and deep questions like, what is the bottleneck in my progress right now? What am I avoiding that needs my courage? What would make everything I'm doing easier or irrelevant? This habit alone can transform your entire year. Because most people are busy being busy. But strategic thinkers, they pause so they can pull ahead. Lesson 7. Always ask, what's the one move that changes everything? This is the power question, the one that removes overwhelm, the one that silences noise, the one that unlocks exponential progress. In every season, in every project, in every problem, there's almost always one move that changes the whole game. Strategic thinkers hunt for that move. They don't try to do everything. They look for the keystone action, the domino that knocks down 10 others, the one thing that, if solved, unlocks everything else. It could be a conversation you're avoiding, a habit you haven't locked in, a hire you need to make, a fear you need to face. One thing, find it, name it, do it. Because when you think like a strategist, your results stop being accidental. They become inevitable. Let's bring it home. Because now you know a better life isn't built on chance. It's built on strategy. It's not about hustle. It's not about luck. It's not about waiting for the right time. It's about clarity, leverage, discipline, and most of all, it's about thinking like a creator, not a survivor. You weren't meant to drift. You weren't born to repeat what's average. You were built to architect something different, to design with purpose, to move with foresight, to live a life that is not reactive, but intentional. And here's the truth. If your life doesn't feel like it fits, you were never meant to fit it. You were meant to change it, to reshape it, to rethink it strategically so it aligns with who you are becoming, not who you've been told to be. From today forward, let this be your standard. No more random days. No more wasted energy. No more letting circumstances decide what happens next. From now on, you decide. You build the life you want on purpose. You don't beg for outcomes, you engineer them. You don't just wish for impact, you leverage every hour to create it. You don't just react to life, you lead it. This is what strategic thinking gives you. A mind that moves faster than fear. A focus that outlasts fatigue. A future that doesn't need to be found because it's being built one move at a time. So don't ask if it's possible. Don't ask if it's too late. Ask, what am I willing to think like, act like, and build like to create the life I know I was meant for? Because you don't need another goal. You need a strategy. And now, you've got one. So go build. Deliberately, boldly, strategically. Because this is your time. And the life you want is waiting to be designed. Most people think speaking is about words, but it's not. Speaking is about power. The power to shape emotion. The power to unlock belief. The power to take what's invisible in your mind and make it undeniable in theirs. Speaking is not just a skill. It's a superpower. And if you master it, you don't just communicate, you command. Not through volume, not through pressure, but through presence. Because the truth is, people don't remember what you say. They remember how you made them feel. And when you master speaking, you learn how to control that feeling. You learn to speak in a way that makes people lean in, not scroll past. You speak in a way that stops time, that stills the room, that shakes the soul. Not with hype, but with truth. Not with noise, but with clarity. Not with tricks, but with resonance. And the first thing you must learn is that your voice doesn't come from your throat. It comes from your conviction. You don't need to sound like someone else. You don't need perfect grammar, perfect tone, perfect cadence. You need alignment. When your words match your energy, when your heart is behind your message, when your belief is louder than your fear, you become unstoppable. Because great speaking isn't about performance. It's about alignment. It's not about sounding smart. It's about sounding real. And when you sound real, people feel you. They don't just hear your message, they recognize themselves in it. And that's when everything changes. That's when you stop talking at people and start talking into them. Speaking is not about information, it's about transformation. You're not here to impress, you're here to impact. To speak in a way that changes something inside the person listening. To speak in a way that makes someone say, I can't go back to who I was before I heard that. And to do that, you must speak with intention. You must speak from the center of your truth, not just what's polished, not just what's practiced, but what's real. Speak from your scars, not your script. Speak from your experience, not your ego. Speak from the pain you've lived through, the wisdom you've fought for, the lessons you've bled to learn. That's the voice people will follow. That's the voice that changes rooms. And once you understand that power doesn't live in the words alone, it lives in the energy behind them, you begin to speak differently. You stop chasing perfection and start channeling presence. You stop rehearsing to be impressive and start grounding yourself to be impactful, because your voice doesn't have to be loud to be felt. It has to be true. That's what shakes people. That's what makes them stop scrolling. That's what cuts through a world full of noise and lands straight in the chest. Great speakers are not remembered because they said what everyone else said. They're remembered because they meant it, because you could feel their story in their silence, because their pauses had weight, because their breath carried belief, because their delivery didn't beg for attention, it commanded respect. And that's your next shift. Your voice carries your identity. You cannot master speaking until you first master you, because people don't just hear your words, they feel your alignment. If you doubt yourself, your voice will tremble. If you shrink your truth, your voice will stutter. But when you stand in who you are, when you own your value, your vision, your voice, suddenly every word you say starts to land with power. Confidence doesn't come from what you know. It comes from what you've integrated, from what you've lived. Confidence is the echo of alignment. The voice that says, this message isn't theory, this is who I am. And when your speaking reflects that, you no longer have to push to be heard. People lean in because they can't ignore what feels real. Let's talk rhythm, because how you deliver is as important as what you deliver. Speaking is music. It has tone, pace, breath, beat. A great speaker doesn't just talk, they compose. They understand tension and release. They use silence like punctuation. They don't rush to fill space. They let the message breathe. Because silence, when used well, doesn't lose attention, it deepens it. Your job is not to pour out everything you know. Your job is to deliver one truth so clearly, so cleanly, so confidently that it plants itself in the heart of the listener and takes root. That's how impact happens. Not through volume, not through speed, through precision. You don't need to speak faster, you need to speak truer. You don't need to sound smarter. You need to sound clearer. You don't need more words. You need more weight behind the ones you already have. That's how you master your speaking. That's how you turn your voice from a tool into a force. Because the greatest speakers are not the ones who speak the most, they are the ones who feel the deepest and dare to let others feel it too. If your words are polished but your soul is guarded, you'll be heard but never remembered. You'll be acknowledged but never felt. But when you speak with vulnerability, raw, honest, human, you don't just connect, you create trust. And in speaking, trust is everything. It's what opens hearts. It's what drops walls. It's what turns a message into a moment someone remembers forever. So speak from your wounds, not just your wins. Speak from the nights you almost gave up. Speak from the fears you outgrew. Speak from the loneliness you sat in when no one clapped and no one called and you still chose to rise. People don't follow perfection. They follow realness. And when you bring your whole self to the mic, not just your highlight reel, people feel safe to do the same in their lives. And that's where your influence expands. When your voice becomes more than words, it becomes permission. Permission to hope, permission to change, permission to be seen. And the key to that? Storytelling. Story is the language of the heart. Facts inform the mind, but stories move the soul. The brain may forget your steps and your strategies, but it will never forget how your story made someone feel. That one moment of honesty, of pain, of truth, of laughter. That's what lingers. That's what stays. That's what spreads. So tell your stories. Not for applause, but for connection. Tell them not to shine, but to serve. The stumbles, the doubts, the small victories, the turning points. Make people see the movie in their mind, not just hear the bullet points of your success. Because when someone can see themselves in your struggle, they trust your guidance. They don't just listen to you, They follow you. But it's not just what you say. It's how you say it. Your emotional range is your greatest asset. Too many speakers sound like robots, flat, rehearsed, soulless. But you are not here to recite. You are here to resonate. Use your voice like a symphony, not for drama, but for depth. Let your passion rise. Let your truth drop. Let your tone match the moment. Speak from fire when fire is needed. Speak from stillness when stillness is called for. Because your voice can punch like thunder or whisper like prayer, and both can be unforgettable when they come from truth. And here's what you must understand. People don't follow the most polished speaker. They follow the most honest one, the most present one, the most grounded one, the one who stands in front of the room or the camera or the world and does not flinch, not because they know everything, but because they've lived what they speak. That's the voice the world is starving for. Then listen carefully, because this is where it all converges. This is where speaking becomes more than a skill. It becomes your signature, your fingerprint on every room you enter, your echo in every life you touch. You see, most people speak to be remembered, but the masters, they speak to remind people of who they are, of what they forgot, of the power that's been buried beneath fear and silence. Your job is not just to share information. Your job is to awaken something inside them that was asleep. Your words are not decoration, they are activation. And if you want your voice to live beyond the moment, beyond the platform, beyond the applause, then speak from a place deeper than performance. Speak from purpose. Because when you speak with purpose, you don't need to sell, you don't need to shout, you don't need to convince. Your presence becomes permission. And people follow that. Not because you asked, but because they felt called. And that's what true speaking does. It calls people forward. Out of fear, out of stagnation, out of mediocrity, into motion, into clarity, into transformation. That's what your voice is capable of. And when you realize that, when you finally accept the responsibility of your voice, you will never speak the same again. Every sentence becomes sacred. Every pause becomes powerful. Every story becomes a vessel. And you become the channel. You don't own the message. You carry it. You deliver it. You protect it. Because somewhere, someone is waiting to hear the exact words you've been called to speak. And it might not be perfect. It might not be viral. But it might just be the moment that changes everything for them. So speak with courage. Speak with clarity. Speak with fire. Speak like it matters, because it does. Your voice is not a tool. It's a torch. And the world is full of people walking through darkness, not because they lack talent, but because they've never heard a voice that reminded them of their light. Be that voice. Because when it's all said and done, no one will remember every word you spoke, but they will remember how your words moved them, how they walked away a little taller, a little clearer, a little more alive. And in the end, that is the true mastery of speaking. To use your voice, not just to impress, but to ignite. Not just to be heard, but to be felt. Not just to communicate, but to elevate. That is your gift. That is your power. That is your legacy. Use it well. When did you first taste failure? Not just the little stumbles, not the harmless rejections, but real soul-crushing. You question everything about yourself. Failure? Maybe it was the first time you heard the word no after giving everything you had. Maybe it was the time you gave your heart to a dream and life answered with silence. Maybe you invested months, years into something that never gave back. We've all met failure, and it doesn't knock politely. It barges in, it interrupts, it humiliates. But here's what nobody told you. Failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is the door. The key isn't to avoid it. The key is to unlock it. And the people who rise, the people who soar, the people who seem unstoppable, they aren't the ones who never failed. They're the ones who figured out how to keep becoming even when everything was falling apart. Let me take you there. Because this is not just a speech. This is your mirror, your map, your moment. You ready? Success is not for the lucky. It's not handed down in genetics or granted by some mysterious force. Success is reserved for the relentless, the ones who learn how to dance with failure and not flinch. And before you roll your eyes or say, I've heard that before, let me challenge you with this. If failure didn't exist, would you still grow? Think about that. If everything came easy, would you still push yourself to become more? See, failure isn't just part of the journey, it is the very terrain on which success is built. Without it, there's no wisdom. Without it, there's no strength. Without it, there's no story. But what blocks most people from walking through the barrier is not failure itself, it's their relationship with it. Let's talk about mindset. Because here's the truth. Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they believe failure defines them. They attach their identity to the outcome. I failed, so I must be a failure. But hear me clearly. Failure is an event. It is not a person. You're not broken. You're not done. You're not beyond repair. You're in the middle of the refining process, the exact same one that every giant before you has walked through. Thomas Edison tried 0 times to create the light bulb. 10,000. Imagine if he quit at 999. You wouldn't be reading this in light. But Edison didn't see those attempts as mistakes, saw them as information. Feedback, data, growth. That's the mindset of a master. So ask yourself, what story do you tell yourself when you fall short? Is it one of shame and retreat? Or is it one of learning and recalibration? The story you tell yourself, that's the foundation of everything. Now let's dig deeper. Because belief is the soil your success will either die in or grow from. Most people think belief is about positive thinking, that if you say enough affirmations, your life will magically shift. But real belief is not words. It's behavior. It's what you choose to do when your back is against the wall. It's waking up after a failure and still showing up, still swinging, still sweating. That's belief in action. You can't fake belief. You demonstrate it. You prove to yourself through movement that you still believe in your worth, your dream, your direction. And when you act in belief long enough, something amazing happens. The world starts to believe in you too, because people can feel it. They know when someone walks into a room and has already defeated failure in their mind. That person commands respect not because they're loud, but because they've walked through the fire and they're still here. So let me ask you, what do you believe about you? Do you believe your past disqualifies you? Do you believe your failures are final? Or do you believe there's more in you than you've ever let out? Because belief is not about ego. It's about alignment. And until your beliefs align with the vision of who you want to become, you will self-sabotage every single time. Clarity. Most people don't fail because they're weak. They fail because they're confused. They haven't defined what success means to them. So every failure feels like devastation when really it was just misdirection. You cannot hit a target you never set. You can't overcome what you haven't named. Clarity is power. It makes failure useful. When you're clear on what you want, every mistake becomes a compass. Oh, not this way? Good. Let's adjust. Let's sharpen. Let's move. But when you're unclear, every mistake feels like an earthquake. The successful treat failure like feedback. The unclear treat failure like final judgment. So define it. What does success mean to you? Not your parents, not society, not social media. You. Is it freedom, impact, mastery, peace? Once you're clear, failure becomes directional. And when failure becomes directional, it becomes a gift. Vision is the fuel. Clarity defines the destination. But vision makes you burn for it. Vision gives pain a purpose. When the nights are long, the rejections are brutal, and the support is gone. Vision is what whispers, we're not done yet. But vision isn't just about goals. It's about identity. You don't just imagine what you want to have you visualize who you must become. A clear vision forces you to change. It doesn't let you stay mediocre. It challenges you. It calls out the stronger version of you hiding underneath the hesitation. So paint your vision vividly. See it, smell it, taste it, feel it. If your vision doesn't give you goosebumps, it's not big enough. Let it be so clear that failure feels like a detour, not a death sentence. Now we arrive at purpose. Why do you want it? Because this matters more than you think. When the failures pile up and the doubts scream louder than your dreams, your why is what keeps you breathing. Weak reasons breed weak effort. Strong purpose pulls you through the mud and keeps your head above water. If your reason for rising isn't strong enough to move you through pain, it won't last. So dig deeper. Is it your family? Is it the legacy you want to leave? Is it proving to yourself after all these years that you are worthy? Your purpose doesn't need to impress anyone. It just needs to ignite you. Let it be personal. Let it be raw. And let it be the reason you turn failure into fuel. Discipline. Discipline, the unsexy word that nobody wants to talk about. But let me tell you something real. Discipline is love in motion. It's you saying to your dream, I will show up for you, even when I don't feel like it. Because motivation fades, emotions shift, but discipline is a decision. And most people fail not because they lack ambition, but because they lack consistency. They show up once, get burned, and never return. But success belongs to the consistent, not the intense. Discipline is choosing to rise when comfort begs you to sit. It's doing the reps, even when the results haven't shown up yet. It's faith in practice. It's proof that you're serious. And the more you choose discipline, the more your failures become stepping stones, not tombstones. Let's now walk into action, because nothing changes until you move. You can think, believe, visualize, and journal all you want. But if you don't act, you don't grow. The world rewards doers. And here's the paradox: most people wait until they feel ready to take action. But you will never feel fully ready. You will never be 100% sure. You will never have every answer. So act anyway. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to move while fear is still screaming. Massive success is built on small, repeated actions. You don't climb Everest in one leap. You climb it one disciplined step at a time. So take the step, even if you're scared, even if you failed last time, even if no one claps for you. Move. Because when you move, you build momentum. And momentum beats motivation every single time. Gratitude. Now, you might be thinking, what does gratitude have to do with failure? Because failure doesn't just test your strategy, it tests your spirit. And if your spirit becomes bitter, if your heart grows cold, you lose more than momentum. You lose yourself. Gratitude is the secret weapon that softens the blow of failure while sharpening your focus for the next round. It's you looking at life and saying, I may not have what I want yet, but I'm stronger because of the struggle. I'm wiser because of the wound. Gratitude isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about seeing value in the pain. It's about learning to say, thank you, failure. You showed me what doesn't work. You revealed who's real. You humbled my ego. You revealed my gaps. You taught me where I need to grow. Gratitude makes you resilient. Because when you're grateful, you're grounded. And grounded people don't panic when the storm comes. They plant deeper roots. Now let's talk about adaptability. Because the truth is, life will not go according to your plans. You will be thrown off course. You will be disappointed. And here's the reality. The most successful people aren't the smartest. They're the most adaptable. They don't marry one method. They stay loyal to the mission, but flexible in the approach. When one door closes, they don't stare at it for 10 years hoping it will open again. They pivot. They ask better questions. What does this failure make possible now? Adaptability is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's you saying, my dream still lives, even if the method has to evolve. Most people fail because they refuse to change direction. They keep pushing in the same broken way, hoping something will magically shift. But the world belongs to those who can bend without breaking, those who adjust without abandoning their purpose. Then comes resilience. Not just grit, not just endurance, but deep inner resilience. This is the kind of power that builds not in success, but in your darkest moments. It's the voice inside you that says, I'm tired, but I'm not done. I'm bleeding, but I'm still breathing. I'm hurting, but I'm healing. Resilience is forged in the fire of repeated failure. It's when everything in you wants to quit, but something stronger rises. You don't learn resilience from books. You earn it from battles. And if you've been knocked down lately, hear this. You're not broken. You're becoming. You're not weak. You're in training. Your resilience is being chiseled in silence so that when the moment comes, you won't just survive, you'll lead. And now we arrive at the final force that ties it all together, learning. Because failure without reflection is wasted. But failure with reflection, that's your masterclass. Every setback is a syllabus. Every misstep is a mentor. But only if you pause long enough to ask, what is this here to teach me? Don't rush past the pain. Don't numb it. Don't ignore it. Sit with it. Study it. Squeeze the wisdom from it. Because success is not built on talent alone. It's built on the ability to extract insight from every fall. You see, a person who fails once and never learns is stuck. But a person who fails 5 times and grows 5 levels deeper, that person is unstoppable. So study yourself. Study your habits, your patterns, your blind spots. Become a student of your own life. And when you learn, really learn, you stop fearing failure because you know it always brings a gift. Now let me bring it all together, not as a conclusion, but as a call to action. You failed. So what? You're scarred. Good. You've been humbled. Even better. Because now you have what most people spend their whole lives avoiding, the raw material for greatness. And the truth is this. The most successful people you admire, they're not where they are in spite of failure. They're there because of it. They failed louder. They failed bigger. They failed with their whole heart. But they got back up faster. They learned quicker. They loved deeper. They trusted themselves, even when the world said, sit down. So now it's your turn. Your dream still lives. Your vision still matters. And your failures, they are not graves. They are gardens. Now rise. Let the fire in your bones be louder than the fear in your mind. Let your heart beat for something greater than perfection. Let your life echo with resilience. Because the key to overcoming failure's barrier is you. And you were never meant to quit. Let's go deeper. Because even after you rise from failure once, life doesn't promise you won't fall again. This isn't a one-time test. This is a lifestyle. And the people who become truly unshakable are the ones who develop what I call emotional immunity. They don't just know how to get back up. They've trained their nervous system to remain steady when the storm hits. They've failed so many times that failure no longer frightens them, it focuses them. So let me ask you, can you train yourself to feel the sting and still move forward? Can you be rejected and not reduce your self-worth? Can you lose and not label yourself a loser? Because when you can do that, you become dangerous in the best way possible. Unstoppable. Because your emotions no longer control your execution. And that's the edge most people never develop. Here's another truth that no one likes to hear. Some failure is your fault. And that's okay. Because extreme ownership is not about blame, it's about power. You see, as long as it's someone else's fault, you have no control. But when you say, no, this was on me, you reclaim the keys to your own evolution. You stop pointing fingers and start building character. And that's when transformation happens. Not when you make excuses, but when you make adjustments. Be honest with yourself. Maybe you didn't prepare. Maybe you procrastinated. Maybe you let fear drive the wheel. Own it. Forgive yourself. Then fix it. That's how leaders are, mad not in the glow of applause, but in the silence of self-awareness. Now we talk about identity. Because if you don't change who you are at the core, no strategy will stick. You must become the kind of person who succeeds. Not just act like one, become one. And here's the key most miss. Identity is built through repetition, not revelation. It's not one powerful quote, one emotional video, or one good day that shifts you. It's the daily decision to act in alignment with the person you want to be. You want to be confident? Speak with truth, even when your voice shakes. You want to be consistent? Show up, even when motivation leaves. You want to be unstoppable? Do the work, even when nobody is watching. Identity isn't built in public. It's forged in the hidden hours when you could have quit but chose not to. Let's now get brutally honest about what separates the 1% who break through from the 99% who don't. Emotional discipline. You've been trained to chase feelings. Feel good? Work hard. Feel bad? Shrink back. But feelings are not your God. They are not your compass. They are not your identity. They are signals, not instructions. And the mature mind knows how to hear the feeling and still do what needs to be done. The gym doesn't care how you feel. The vision doesn't care if you're tired. The dream doesn't check your emotional state before deciding whether to come true. Discipline is doing it regardless. It's saying, my feelings are real, but my future matters more. That's the shift that changes your life. And now we arrive at something rarely discussed, but absolutely vital. Forgiveness. Because one of the greatest barriers to success is not external failure. It's internal resentment. You can't rise while dragging bitterness. You can't build while holding grudges. Some of you aren't failing because you lack strategy. You're failing because your heart is heavy. You're mad at the people who left. You're mad at the boss who didn't see your worth. You're mad at yourself for not being perfect. But listen carefully. You don't forgive for them. You forgive to move. Forgiveness is fuel. It clears the runway for your greatness. Let go not because they deserve it, but because you do. Because your future deserves the full version of you, not the one weighed down by the past. Let's go further. Let's talk about environment. You can't plant a seed in concrete and expect it to bloom. And you can't place your dream in toxic soil and expect it to grow. Your surroundings matter. The conversations you hear, the energy you absorb, the expectations around you, they either pull you forward or keep you small. So ask yourself, are you surrounded by vision or by fear? By people who see your greatness or by people who keep you tame? Success is not just about effort, it's about exposure. What are you breathing in every day? If your environment doesn't stretch you, it shrinks you. Sometimes the biggest breakthrough is not internal, it's positional. Move. Upgrade your circle. Clean your space. Feed your mind. Because you cannot become who you're meant to be while staying where you've always been. We're getting now closer to the part of you that's been waiting to awaken. Let's talk about timing. Because some of you feel like you're late. You failed. And now you think it's too late to rise again. Let me free you from that lie. You're not late. You're right on time for the version of you that's being born. Your delay is not denial. It's development. You weren't supposed to succeed back then because who you were couldn't carry the weight of where you were going. You needed the heartbreak. You needed the silence. You needed the isolation. Because sometimes it takes breaking to become whole. So breathe. You didn't miss your window. Your window is opening now because you're finally becoming the person who's ready to walk through it. Let me end this not with motivation, but with a mandate. You were not put here to live small. You were not designed to exist in the shadow of your failures. You were built for greatness, not comfort. For impact, not survival. So here's your choice. Keep dragging the weight of your past failure, or use it to build your future fortress. Turn your wounds into wisdom. Turn your regret into rhythm. Turn your losses into leverage. Because the key was never out there. It's been in you the whole time. And now, the world is waiting to see what you'll do with it. Rise.